Are you ready? Let's go. Ready?
Ready.
Yeah, ready when you are.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Holden Shepherd, Heidi Anderson, Jan Latter, Alison Patterson, welcome to my little show.
Why do you call it a little chat show?
Jan Nichols, Sam Eichen, Annabelle Smith, Donna Mazza, Rebecca Watson, Jonelle Fraser, Tracy Jacobson, Adam Wallace, Monique Mulligan, Matt Glover, Karen Young. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Welcome to my show. What's the difference between a children's content creator and a children's author? Well, that's just one of the many things that I chatted with Michelle Worthington about in this wide-ranging interview. Michelle has just released 2 books, or one of them last year, The Wind and the Mouse and The Mouse and the Egg. Now, it's part of her Willing Kids program series. So we chatted about that. We chatted about the future of children's publishing, where kids are consuming books and media, and a whole bunch of so many other things. We get to find out what motivates her, what drives her. And I think if you're a children's author, or if you love children's books, you're going to really, really get something out of this interview. So let's get to know Michelle Worthington. Michelle Worthington, I've looked forward to this chat for a long time. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me. I feel like we know each other.
I know. This is the vagaries of Facebook and social media. I see you doing things. You see me doing things. We chat every now and then. It's like now in real life we get to speak. Well,
I know. It's so great. Kind of face to face anyway.
Exactly. Now, look, you're part of it's the promotion at the moment for your 2 new books. Now, I know one of them was released last year, but they're a bit of a different kind of couple of books. And so we'll get into that in a minute, but they're part of a series of books called the Willing Kids series. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So I was actually approached by 2 friends of mine who work with families that are struggling with addiction, and they've created this program called the Conscious Choices program. And originally it was aimed, first of all, at men and women, but then, you know, anything like that is a family issue. And they found that they had a lot of kids kind of caught up in the middle, and they wanted to create something in a language that kids could understand, that didn't feel preachy, that also kind of tied in maybe work that mum and dad were doing on themselves, or maybe something that kids themselves needed to work on as part of not only addiction, but anything to do with kind of freeing yourself from anxiety and giving you a little bit of confidence and support in a family setting. So I said, well, you know, picture books are the perfect way. For me, they've always been an amazing tool to talk to kids about difficult subjects. So we came up with the idea of 5 different stories. And originally we did them as animation with the definite decision that they would also be books. But kids coming from these sort of families don't always have access to physical books. So we wanted to make sure that they weren't missing out on the story, and it was something that teachers could use as well. So it kind of grew out of there, and it's been amazing, the feedback that we've received, not only from the program, the Willing Kids program, but also teachers and parents, that it's just a really gentle story told very, I guess, mindful of kids who have sensory issues, and maybe accidentally they might learn something as well.
I know, that's what I love also, as you said, that the books are written, and the animation, the videos for the sensory kids. So they're not overloaded. It's not fast animation. It's not explosive graphics or anything like that. It's really soft and gentle. And because I had a look at one of the clips on YouTube, and it really got me, actually drew me in, just going, this is really nice to watch. It's not screaming and shouting.
Yes.
And I know a lot of kids' stuff at the moment is very in your face, because that's what kids are used to. But I like the fact that you actually started off with the videos first, then the books came out of that.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was done very on purpose, because for one thing, obviously, like we were talking about, not all kids have access to books at the moment, but also kids consume so much of their content on that. If the animation can then lead them into wanting to get a physical book, and then that lead them into, oh, hang on, books are actually not so bad. Maybe I could get more books. So it just made sense to start with the animation.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because the two books are, there's The Wind and the Mouse and The Mouse and the Egg. Now, which one came out last year?
The Wind and the Mouse came out first, and The Mouse and the Egg came out just recently.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, so both of them have the matching animation video on YouTube. So does it like you buy the book and you get access to the YouTube, or is the YouTube just free available to anybody who wants to watch it?
Yeah, YouTube's free. So the animation is available to anyone, and there's a link there for them to be able to purchase the book via the animation. My big hope was, you know, when we were little and we had like the Disney books, and it used to listen to a tape, or I'm old enough that it was actually like the little record player, and it used to go, ding, turn the page.
We're not showing our age, are we, Michelle? No.
I know, right? Like I had my little discs and with the book and the record. So that's kind of how I envision, hopefully, that kids will have the animation, but they'll also have the book, so they can actually have the book and turn the pages and follow along with the words.
Now, what are the books actually about? What are the topics in the books?
So the first book is actually about how change is uncomfortable. And I think the fact that it came out last year was really great.
Perfect time.
Because I know. It's about a little mouse, happy at home in its hole, doesn't really want to go anywhere or do anything. And that was me. It turned out to be me. I was that little mouse last year. Well, I didn't want to go anywhere. I was quite happy staying in my little hole. But then the nice warm spring wind reminds the mouse that even though it's scary to come out of your hole, there's lots of beautiful changes and things that will happen. And so that was actually a bit of divine providence that book came out last year. Wow. And then this year, The Mouse and the Egg, it's about taking responsibility. So if you say that you're going to do something, that you need to follow through and make sure that you do what you wanted to do.
I think I need to read that book, Michelle. I hate responsibility.
Maybe that's your book for this year.
Like, you really want me to be responsible? No. Oh, that's great. So,
am I the adult? Hang on a second. I'm sure there's, that quote. There's got to be somebody more adulty than me.
I know, and it's neither of us, is it? No. So what's your response been like with the book so far?
Really, really great. So last year for a lot of us was really tricky with launching books, and as well with school visits being cancelled last year and kind of slow to take up again this year. But I think, as part of the Willing Kids program, it's been really well received. And also the fact that we are kind of diversifying and having animation and books, that seems to be something that people are really, open to. I do a lot of markets. And so when I'm at the markets and I'm showing them the book, and then in the back, the kids, so I say, oh, there's a YouTube that you can watch as well. And they kind of like go, you're telling me I'm allowed to watch YouTube? Like usually adults are telling me to get off YouTube. And then, I explain to the parents that, it's really sensory friendly, and a lot of kids who are on the spectrum as well are finding that that's an alternative to a bedtime story as well. So it seems to be working for different people in different ways.
I like the fact that you're moving into the it's not just a picture book. You're utilizing YouTube, the digital media, to really value add what the books are. Or, I mean, as you said, the video came first and the books came after. Where do you think the actual future of children's books is going?
Oh my gosh, I've had this exact conversation with at least 3 people in the last month. You know what? I think we love picture books. We love books. It's in our blood. It's who we are. But I think we also need to be honest about the future of picture books and also respectful that kids are different to how we were.
Yeah, Generation Alpha is so different. They consume
so different.
So differently.
How they consume content is so different. Absolutely. So, you know what? I think there's always going to be a place for picture books. From what I've seen at the markets and bookstores and talking to parents and teachers, picture books do tend to be gifts now. So there's not a lot of parents who buy picture books for their kids. There's not a lot of kids who have little bookshelves at home, and there's an awful lot of kids who don't get read bedtime stories or don't even have access to physical books in their home. So how do we as children's content creators or storytellers kind of come to terms with that? And I think for me, my youngest boy was actually diagnosed with dyslexia, which has also made me look at what is story and how do we teach story to our children. And I think we need to kind of broaden our definition of what story and storytelling is and make sure that we are not so much focused on the product, but how kids consume story. And there's always going to be a place for picture books in that, because we have grandparents and teachers single-handedly saving the Australian picture book industry, and I don't think that's going to change for a long time. But I also am aware, as a mum of a young kid who struggles with reading, and also seeing that there are so many kids when I go and do school visits who their only exposure to picture books is in a classroom, that maybe we need to have a broader definition of story so that those kids aren't missing out on our stories. And we have an amazing opportunity via modern technology to be able to do that.
And I've noticed that you've embraced that so well. You're sort of, you've picked it up and you've run with it. But oh
my gosh, I make it look easy, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
No one does, Michelle. That's our little secret. We won't tell anyone else. We've got no idea what's going on. We're just making it up as we go. But I think it's a very good point you mentioned, though. It's like you can't. I think nowadays you can't just be a children's book author or illustrator. And look, you can be, yes, if that's what you want to do. That's fine. But I think if you want to reach more kids and get your message across, I think you have to change your title as opposed to being a children's author, you're a children's content creator or children's storyteller.
Exactly.
And how that story comes out, it could be through a book, it could be through a video, it could be through an online course. Like I'm halfway through building my online course at the moment. And and I'm trying to grapple with understanding what that actually means. And it's really what you said. It's like you have a message as the creator, you have a message you want to get to kids. So it could be by books, courses, videos, it could be in-school talks, could be anything like that. But it's just the content delivery method. But the kids, like Generation Alpha at the moment, the ones that are in primary school, are going, well, I'm on YouTube, I'm on my tablet, I'm on my phone. And that's where most of the consumption happens. So But then again, you don't want that to be at the loss of the actual physical books, because I know that there's the magic. Once kids are introduced to the physical book, they go, like they latch. Literally, it's something they can hold and they can latch onto. And I think that's important as well. So it's finding that balance, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think and I honestly have started thinking of myself as a children's content creator instead of a children's author. But it also highlights the importance of school libraries. And this is something that I'm really going to be focusing on going forward, is that if a child's only experience of a physical book is at school, then we need to make sure that there is books at school for them to access, which isn't just coming from a teacher buying books out of their own money and having that in the classroom. And a lot of modern schools are being built without libraries. And that scares the heebie-jeebies out of me, because, we can't, as a society, we simply can't put the onus on parents to be supplying books for their kids. There is not an economic possibility that all parents will be able to buy books for their kids. However, all kids have to go to school. So if they're at school, then that is a perfect opportunity for them to be exploring everything that you said, wandering. I mean, the library was my safe place when I was at school, and it still is for so many kids. And if they're not having that, and they don't have to call it a library, they can call it a resource center. It can have computers in it. That's fine, but there also needs to be physical books, because the big thing about reading is that when you read, your brain doesn't know that you are not experiencing what you're reading. So if you're reading about going to Paris or the moon, then your brain is thinking that you're going to Paris and the moon. When you are watching an iPad, it's your brain pathways aren't working in the same way, and these modern kids are going to lose that kind of neurological pathway that is so important for not just creative thinking but critical thinking, problem solving. Like I don't understand how the government doesn't see the value for that for our futures.
You know what?
I so cranky.
I totally agree with you, Michelle. And it's because libraries, and I'm going to add librarians here as the curators of information, they're not in the box to be ticked. I was speaking to a librarian and also a lady who goes and stocks libraries, who helps build school libraries. And she was saying that like when a government goes, okay, we're going to build a new school in the community here, we've got to tick boxes. It's got to have English. It's got to have the maths. It's got to have the socials. All this sort of library, no, not on the radar. Not on the radar, because the kids can get the information off the iPad, or they can do this. And it's like, no, it is actually important to have a physical library with physical books and a librarian to curate that information. So if a little kid comes in and he goes, I don't know what I want to read, I'm not very good at reading, or I don't like reading, then the teacher can go, well, hey, here's a great book that I know will give you that initial first start, that love of reading, and then you will take it off from there. So that librarian can then facilitate that experience. But now it's like, no, getting rid of librarians, getting rid of libraries, and I find that, like you, extremely, extremely sad.
It's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake, and there is no price that any budget can tell me is more important than having children grow up to be critical, creative thinkers.
Yeah.
Like if we don't have kids who can use those, that information that they get, and they might not always get it from a book, but the fact that reading and choosing content from books can actually stimulate those neurological pathways, and that having a physical book to read does so much to your core being. Like there's so many actual physical benefits to reading a book. Like how is that not worth putting in a budget? It doesn't make sense to me at all.
I know. We both, you and I, we need to lobby the government for this.
I know, right?
Actually,
seriously, I'm thinking, Josh, you need to run for president or something. President Josh.
I've got no idea what's going on though.
That's all right. Do you think they do?
Actually, there's a lady I know over here in WA, and she's actually very proactive, and she's going to be lobbying the government to try and get school libraries and librarians onto that box, that tick that box.
Yes.
So every school has
absolutely.
But it's showing that, because everything wants to know a monetary return or an instant ATAR kind of result. When it's not, you can't measure a kid's cognitive function or their imagination that's been fired from reading a book. You can't measure that until it's a little bit later on, until they're more well adjusted and they're able to create the life they want, as opposed to, yeah, sure, they may get great test results, but how are they on the inside?
Absolutely.
And I know that you and I both share the same concept about the importance of mental and emotional well-being for kids, and it's a holistic thing. It's not just, reading's this, maths this, that. It is a whole. It's the heart and the mind combination that needs to come together, and that's why we both do what we do. So I want to get behind that a little more, and I want to find out what actually drives you. Where do you get all your energy from?
Well, my blood type is caffeine. So I wake up in the morning and the kids know, all right, Mum's just got to have a coffee and then I can talk to her. I think, I am inspired a lot from my own kids and the kids that I meet at school visits, my friends' kids. And I have a huge desire to leave the world a better place for them. But also I want to be able to equip them with all of the tools that they need so that they can do whatever it is that they want to do, follow their passion, and they're the ones who can make the world a better place. And, I think as somebody who creates children's content, we have this amazing opportunity to, we're not necessarily telling children what to do, but we are exposing them to lots of different points of view, lots of different ways of thinking. And we're saying, okay, now tell me your story. Yeah. You tell me what you think, and then listen to them and, make sure that they know that they're heard and that their voice matters. And that is hugely important to me. So a lot of the stories that I write are for real people, so for real kids, or they're for a certain group of kids who I feel don't have a voice or don't feel like that they are being seen, to give them an opportunity to say, oh, hang on, I matter. Yeah. Maybe I can stand up and ask for what I want, or I can stand up and suggest something that I think will make things better. So for me, it's always about the reader and how can I either help them or show them how to help themselves.
And I think that's a really, really good motivation. I mean, yeah, I can't agree more with that. Allowing that space for kids to, go, I mean, that's my new course is called Here I Am, getting those kids to go, I can be here. I do have a voice. I can be validated. And if we as adults look at them and go, I see you as you are, without any expectation. And that's so important, as you know, with kids with dyslexia or on the spectrum or whatever. They all sitting there going, I'm broken, something's wrong with me, I'm failing in society. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. And it's how we allow them to be who they are, which allows them to grow and be their best selves.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Great motivation, Michelle. Look, where can people get your books now? It's The Wind and the Mouse and The Mouse and the Egg, the two latest ones. Where can I get them? Where can I find out more about you and what you're doing?
Absolutely. Well, I always say, start with your local bookstore, because we do want to support local bookstores. They can look up Michelle Worthington and they can see all of my books. If you go to YouTube and have a look for The Wind and the Mouse and the Egg animations, there'll be links to the books there as well. Daisy Lane Publishing as well, and all online bookstores.
Okay. And your website, I'll put your website, michelleworthington.com.au under here.
Yeah, just .com. Yeah, michelleworthington.com. That's me. I'm a .com.
Okay, and people can have the link. All the links are on their website as well.
Absolutely. Yep. Contact me anytime if you have any questions about what I do, or I'm always open to taking feedback and offering any help that I can.
Fantastic, Michelle. Thank you so much for being on my show. What a great message you've got, and I think a lot of people can take a lot of inspiration from what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for having me, and you inspire me with everything that you're doing. So thank you as well.
Oh, shucks. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.